Hello, everybody, and welcome to webinar today. My name is Jim Fulton. I'm with Hillstone Networks, and today we're going to be talking about a new approach that you can use using behavioral intelligence to find and stop threats in your network in minutes, not months. Hillstone is a company that's devoted to providing security that's fast, intelligent, and affordable. It's founded by a group of security experts who came from NetScreen in 2006 and have created a variety of products that are used around the world by more than 10,000 companies. The company's products have been hailed by Frost & Sullivan, and Gartner, and many others. So as we look at what's going on in the world today with security, it really can be summed up by the director of the U.S. FBI, that there are really two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that don't know it yet. Right. So what this means is that these days, many CISOs are beginning to acknowledge that it's not a matter of if things will ever get into the network. It's a matter of when and what do you do about it. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how you can better protect yourself in this new reality. So one of the fundamental things that's different today is that attackers are taking a very systematic approach to how they go after networks. They start off using tools to really zero in on your network, to really do reconnaissance, often taking not just minutes, but sometimes hours and even days to really examine your network before crafting very specialized attacks that can then slip into your network and then quietly steal data over time. And this results in both damage to systems within your networks potentially, but more importantly, theft of your intellectual property and other critical data. As a result, what's happening is that in today's enterprise, we're seeing a real change. It used to be enough that you could deploy defenses that used signatures for trying to examine everything that came through your network and to figure out what to stop and what to allow through. Unfortunately, this old approach today really only stops sort of the amateur attacks, the things that are done by people who are just pulling off the shelf pieces of malware and slapping it together and not really trying very hard. It's kind of like teenagers going through houses in a neighborhood looking to see who left their doors open. Unfortunately, in today's world, attackers are professional. They're using true software development techniques to create attacks that are able to go right through many common defenses. And in fact, in many cases, a lot of the problems are actually already in the network, brought around the network, either through employees bringing in their own equipment or potentially by disgruntled employees, contractors, and so forth. In fact, Verizon, in their most recent report, really highlighted that in many cases, a lot of this very sophisticated new attacks are able to slip through defenses in minutes. So how do they do this? Well, the first thing that attackers are now doing is that they're using the same types of technologies that are often used for defending networks to scan the hosts that are attached to the internet, or scan other machines that they can get access to find all of the different places where the machines might be vulnerable because they haven't been patched, because something was misconfigured, ports were left open that should have been closed, and so forth. The malware then goes after not just one place to attack, but potentially could go through different avenues or vectors of attack, so that it can slip through in several different ways. And then once inside, uses advanced shape-shifting techniques to appear to be different every single time it goes through someone's network. This is one of the ways that it helps to defeat those old traditional defenses that rely upon signatures or little fingerprints of what's going on in that malware. Instead, a lot of newer defenses are using advanced techniques such as sandboxing, in which malware is automatically routed into a virtual environment called a sandbox. Normally, the intention is that that malware would suddenly take off and do things, but the sandbox would keep it trapped so that it could then be disposed of. Unfortunately, these days, a lot of malware is designed specifically to detect when it's running inside a sandbox, one of these contained environments, and automatically go to sleep, not to go off and start to do anything unusual. And it's only once it detects that it's outside the sandbox that it activates after escaping. As a result, modern threats now can often lurk inside your network for months without being detected. Fortunately, there are new approaches that you can take that can enable you to discover these threats and find out what's going on. And today we're going to talk about one such technology called behavioral intelligence that uses a combination of techniques that can help you uncover those threats in minutes, not just months. So let's spend a few minutes talking about how. So when we think of traditional firewall technology, even today's next generation firewalls, the way they work is they have an embedded system upon which different security modules, such as a firewall, VPN, antivirus, intrusion prevention systems, and URL filtering, and so forth, all run. Behavioral intelligence builds on top of this baseline, adding a new layer of capabilities that are designed around three main functions. One, detection of things that are unexpected or not right. Second, the ability to visualize the information that's gained. And then third, the ability to enforce changes in your security to keep you protected. Because ultimately what these three things are about is, first, to be able to find modern threats, either those external threats such as 0 days, such as other unwanted malware that's constantly shifting and changing, or to also find internal threats, things brought in on employee devices, rogue agents inside a company that are maliciously trying to attack data from the inside. Once detected, the fundamental approach of behavioral intelligence is designed to help you better understand what's going on so that you can get a sense of your network risk overall, and that you can burrow into problems and really determine what the root cause behind those problems would be, so that you can then go about mitigating or shielding yourself and fixing those underlying issues. So let's talk about how this is actually done. How does behavioral intelligence do this? Because it's very different from the old approaches of using signatures that were matched against everything that was coming in. Instead, behavioral intelligence starts with examining what's coming through the network. If it's on a perimeter, what's coming in from the outside. If it's inside the network, it's what's passing through the device. And so the first thing it does is to look at the behaviors that are exhibited by the software that's coming through the device, so that it can group these clusters of recurring behaviors into families. And it turns out that with big data analysis, you're able to really zero in and find variants of these different families that, again, are using that shape-shifting technology to try to look different every time they're examined. And instead, to really figure out, well, this really is the same as this attack that was seen before. Here's what it did, and here's how to stop it. The second element that behavioral intelligence really focuses on is, in addition to looking at what's coming into the network, it also looks at what's going on inside the network. Because again, threats today aren't just coming in from the outside, they're often brought in around the network, either on purpose or accidentally by employees. And so, if you think about the potential damage done by, again, some unknown threats that somehow get into the network bypassing the various scanning devices. Instead, Ultimately, what they're trying to do is to attack systems and steal data. So what the point of behavioral analysis is to really take a look at all of that network traffic and take a look at what's going on and to figure out when there are anomalies, when there are things that are happening that shouldn't be. Frank is suddenly, in the finance department, is suddenly transferring a lot of data at 2 in the morning when his machine almost never shows any data being transferred after 8 o'clock at night. Things like that, so that it can get a sense of what is normal and then be able to highlight what's abnormal. So with behavioral analysis, you're able to then combine these, all this data really into intelligence. So it's about inspecting the traffic that's in your network, both in kind of inside and out, tracking then where the suspicious things might be going in the network, and being able to understand which hosts might be affected by that malicious content, and then aggregating this information across the network so that you're able at a glance to get an overall sense of how healthy your network is, or whether or not it's at risk. Because the next step then is when you have this sense of overall, is your network in good shape? Is it not in good shape? Did that change recently? That makes it easier to then spot when things are beginning to go wrong, so that you can find those anomalies very quickly and then drill down into suspect hosts, so that you can look and see, all right, what kind of attack might it have been? Where might it be? What policies in the firewall might have enabled that attack to get in, so that you can very quickly do something about it. And in fact, that's the goal in all of the security, is both to detect what's going on, but also to stop it, to enforce changes in policy that make it harder or ideally impossible for such attacks to get through the next time. In Hillstone's implementation of behavioral intelligence, we make it possible for you to not just do this manually, but also to set various triggers so that this kind of mitigation can happen automatically. And in fact, one of the interesting aspects of it is that you can go beyond simply trying to shut it off and slam the door shut. Instead, you can throttle back the amount of bandwidth that's provided, so that if you think there might be a circumstance where you're not sure if it's an attack, but perhaps it's someone in the office of the CFO working late on a key presentation for investors, rather than just clamping down, you're able to raise an alarm and then slow it down so that someone on the network staff can look at it and make a determination of whether or not it's a problem or not. So one of the nice things about behavioral intelligence as a technique is that it's actually a very flexible approach that can be used in a variety of different ways. For organizations that are deploying security devices on the perimeter of their network, where their network attaches to the internet, it can be used both to monitor existing defenses, so essentially plugging into an existing firewall and monitoring the traffic that's going through that in order to see whether or not there are threats, or it can be used to both detect and protect to enforce policy changes. This gives you the flexibility, for example, to start by looking at what's going on in your network without actually putting the devices in line, so that you can get a sense of what might be stopped when you start using behavioral intelligence. The other aspect of it that we're starting to see more and more, especially in larger companies, is to actually begin to segment various networks, to put these sorts of devices as control points at the entry point into different departments' networks. So, for example, having a behavioral intelligence device at the point where the finance department's network begins, where marketing or where legal or where engineering, so that you can begin to watch traffic as it's going through the various parts of the network, so that you can find anomalies that might be appropriate in one part of your network with one group of users, but would be very inappropriate for other groups of users in other parts of your network. Because ultimately, what behavioral intelligence is all about is providing a way for you to protect yourself, your network, and your most valuable data from attacks throughout the cyber kill chain, both in the early stages when malicious threats are snooping around trying to examine your network and looking for ways of breaking in and stealing things, all the way through the end when if something has gotten in, when it's attempting to secret that information out. The whole point of behavioral intelligence, and particularly of Hillstone's intelligent next generation firewalls, is to find those threats and stop them quickly. As a way of saying thank you for all of you who attended today, we've extended the special offer that we put together at the RSA conference. People were really enjoying it, so we wanted to also make sure that you had a chance to take advantage of it too. So what we're doing is, for people who try our intelligent firewalls that have behavioral intelligence in them, and if you try it for 30 days, we'll give you a Fitbit for free, whether you keep the firewall or not. So this is a way for us to celebrate having a healthy network. So as we look at what we've gone over today, and hopefully what will prove to be useful for you moving forward, is that behavioral intelligence is a new approach to network security that really does make it possible to find and stop new generations of unknown threats faster than ever before. It's an approach that complements your existing defenses so that you don't have to first rip out what you've already got, and take a chance on what on this new approach. Instead, what you can do is you can deploy it in conjunction with your existing firewalls, with your existing intrusion prevention systems and so forth, so that you can monitor what's going on and see the benefits that you'll get before turning on or enforcing security later, as your needs grow and change. Hillstone, as a company, has been really one of the pioneers in behavioral intelligence and is a part of the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Enterprise Network Firewalls. And in fact, one of the things that Gartner highlighted in the Magic Quadrant was Hillstone's motivation to bring innovation to the market, and how the behavioral intelligence and the other advances in technology that we're offering really are different and really are providing a new way for companies to keep themselves safer. So again, to really wrap up, we certainly would love to have anyone be able to take advantage of that offer to get a free Fitbit. Simply send an email to freetrial@hillstonenet.com and do your free 30-day trial of the Hillstone Intelligent Firewalls, and then the Fitbit is yours to help keep you healthy throughout the year and beyond. So again, thank you all for attending today. We really appreciate having you, and we look forward to talking to you in the future. This is the first of what will be an ongoing series of webinars. Today, again, looking at behavioral intelligence and how you can use it to find and stop threats in minutes.